Hey, these are the Mod 15 Part 2 notes. This is page 5. 2 more examples. I am going to use the critical value method or the classical method for example 3. And then the p-value method for example 4. Just so we got a little bit of both. So example 3, we've got the Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports in 2010 that 20% of Americans smoke tobacco. So let's see what we got here. So our population proportion is that 20%. We've got a random sample of 400 Americans. Found in that sample 76 smoked tobacco. Test whether the population proportion of Americans who smoke has decreased using a level of significance of 0.1. So our alpha is 0.1. First thing we are going to do is check the central limit theorem. And so we're going to take our n, multiply by that population proportion times 1 minus the population proportion. We get 64, which is greater than 10, so we are okay. So let's figure out what we need here. My p hat, 76 over 400 is 0.19. My standard deviation, that's square root of 0.2 times 0.8, all divided by 400, is 0.02. Okay. Now let's see what we've got here. My null hypothesis is that the proportion is this 0.2. My alternate hypothesis is that the proportion is actually less than 0.2. So let's figure out what this looks like in terms of our normal distribution. My z equals 0. We're using the critical value method, so we are using z-scores. Okay. My z critical score here, CR, has to cut off the bottom 10%. That is a 0.1. So this is our rejection region. Holy cow. I don't know what's going on here. So we are going to reject H naught if something falls into this region. So our cutoff score here, norm.s.inverse. Remember, S is that standardization. That means we're using the z-scores. I want to figure out what value cuts off that bottom 10%. I get a negative 1.28. So in order for me to reject H naught, my z data has to be smaller than negative 1.28. Negative 1.28. It's to the left here. Okay, so let's see what we got. My z data. P hat minus P all over my standard deviation. 0.19 minus 0.2 all over 0.02. And I get a z data score. It's a z-score for my sample proportion of negative 0.5. Okay. So let's think about where that lives. Negative 0.5. Is going to be up here. I think my Apple Pencil is dying. Notice this falls in the region that's considered normal, not unusual. So we do not reject H naught. There is not enough evidence at the alpha equals 0.05 level of significance to suggest or support that the number of Americans that smoke is less than 20% or has decreased. So example 4, we're going to use the p-value methods. We've got 2 major college entrance exams, are the SAT and the ACT. An official with the Illinois State Department of Education wonders whether more than half of students in her state are prepared. So this one's interesting because you kind of have to search for how we're comparing these. More than half. So we are comparing to a p-value of 0.5. Let's see, prepare for college algebra. She obtains a simple random sample of 500 students. Found that 289 of them score high enough to take college algebra. Does this represent significant evidence that more than half of Illinois students are prepared for college mathematics upon graduation? We again are using an alpha is at 0.05. Okay. So first is that central limit theorem. Let's see if that holds. I've got a sample of 500. I've got 0.5, 1 minus 0.5. I get 125, which is greater than 10, so we are okay. I need my sample proportion Here I get 0.578. I need my sample standard deviation. Oops. I get 0.0224. And let's see what my normal distribution looks like here. So my population proportion is 0.5. More than. So we're up here. Alpha is 0.05. So the last one was a more than, no, last one was a less than. Okay, we got it, we're good. So here's my rejection region. Okay, so I'm gonna find the probability for the values that we have and compare to that alpha equals 0.05. So my null hypothesis is that the proportion is actually that 0.05. My alternate hypothesis is that the proportion is greater than that 0.5. To find the p-value, sometimes if you are good with Excel, this is going to be easier for you. I want that right-hand probability, so I've got to start with the 1 minus. Remember, everything in Excel gives us the left-hand probability. I'm going to use norm.dist this time. I'm not worried about the z-scores. I'm comparing 0.578 to my population parameter of 0.5. Standard deviation is 0.0224. 1, we always get that cumulative. We get a p-value of 0.00025. Which is smaller than my alpha. So 0.00025 is less than 0.05. So we're going to reject H naught. Here's what my sentence looks like, and I'm going to, I think I'd get smart and stop. Anyway. We're going to reject H naught. There is sufficient or enough evidence at the alpha equals 0.05 level of significance to suggest that more than half of Illinois students are ready for college algebra.